Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be continuing reading our Bible stories. So let's go and get into this. It's called Rebellious People, based on Numbers chapter 14 verse 11 through chapter 16 and verse 34. Let's first page we're getting right read with Moses on it. So let's go ahead and start this up. Inside the tent meeting, Moses is praying, "Oh God, forgive my people. Don't destroy them, even though they have disobeyed you." And you gotta imagine that Moses, that's getting tired of this now. I mean, he's having to go to God all the time and ask for their forgiveness because of their arrogance, their disobedience, and their selfishness, and that they proved to have, many times, as we've seen through just reading through, this, these people are. But I guess when we look into even our world today, that people are just the same, if not worse, really. But let's continue. Which, real quick side note, is also why, deep down we really don't deserve heaven. We don't deserve it for what Jesus did to us. But, he's offering it. So, we should accept that and, go to heaven with him. Again, we don't deserve it because we're all very, evil, really. I mean, we sinned against him and, disobeyed him. And some even have mocked him and things like that. But that is the power of forgiveness and the power of God's love, to forgive us, to help us understand, to change our lives. I just watched an incredible movie called, it's the George Foreman movie. And, his life, really he was doing a lot of very evil things up to the point of, when Jesus came alive in him, as he said in that locker room, and he completely changed his life around. He dropped all of his anger, everything. He was at the top of the game. I mean, he could have, fought Muhammad Ali again and made tons of money and all this other things, but he didn't care about that. He just wanted to serve the Lord God. That's what we're truly here to do. It's fun and nice to have things, but, to serve God, is what we're really here to do, and to teach others and to get others saved as well. Because the afterlife in heaven is what, is really going to matter and things like that. But to continue this, Moses comes out of the tent of the meeting, and a hush falls over the crowd. He raises his hand. "Because you don't have faith to enter the promised land, God says you must go back to the wilderness." Go back to the wilderness? We don't want to do that. Oh man, I didn't realize that if we don't try to conquer Canaan, we'd be forced to go back wandering in the wilderness. Okay, if those are our choices, then let's go ahead and conquer Canaan ourselves. I'm with you. Yes, let's go. So, plans are quickly made, and the men go tell Moses, "You can go back to the wilderness, but we're going to Canaan. You have switched from cowards to fools. No, don't try it. In fear, you rejected God's promises, and now suddenly you think you can win a battle on your own against the very giants you feared. You always say things in the worst way, Moses." So now they had fear of these giants and didn't want to fight them, even though they had God with them. And then now that God wants them to go back to the wilderness, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to go back out in the wilderness." So now they're going to go fight the giants, that they once feared. I mean, do you see how foolish and really dumb they are? I mean, they should have fought when they had God on their side. The rebellious idiots form an army and set out immediately to conquer Canaan. "We fought off raiders. We can conquer this land too, and we can do it without Moses." But as they go up the hill, the defending army attacks. "This is a massacre. Let's get out of here. If we get back alive, I'll obey every word Moses says." As they begin to talk among themselves, the battle is soon over. The defeated Israelites limp back to camp. As they talk to him, "What happened? We didn't have a chance. The enemy came at us from every direction. Our leaders were the first to run. The people see the results of the disobeying God for a time they gladly follow Moses." But then a man named Korah and others who helped him in the tent of the meeting grow jealous of Moses' leadership. We are as good as Moses. Why should he tell us what to do?" Let's tell Moses we'll take care of things ourselves. So, they lose the battle, obviously, because, disobeying God. And then they, do as Moses says for a little while, but then they begin, oh, we're just as good as Moses, and we're just as wise, and blah, blah, blah. But they're not the ones that God chose. Moses was. Korah and his followers go to Moses, and Moses calls all the people together. Tomorrow the Lord will show us whom he has chosen to lead our people. So, the next day Moses stands before the Israelites. Get away from Korah and these 2 men who will lead you to evil. If you don't, you'll lose your lives. Here's proof of my authority. If God has chosen me to lead you, the earth will open and swallow them up. As Moses speaks, a great earthquake splits the ground open, and the tents of Korah and his followers fall into the deep crack. As we can see right there. So he says, don't follow. He said, God will choose leader tomorrow. So they come all gather around for tomorrow to come. And it wasn't Korah. He said, Korah will lead you to evil. He will, destroy everything God's trying to build here. But if I'm meant to be the true leader, then, by God's authority, a great earthquake comes. So out of nowhere, completely silent, cracks open, it's to show God's power, cracks open the earth and swallows up their tent specifically, while everybody else lives. So, that there is just an incredible feat. The mention of, been trying to double-cross Moses, but it's led to their downfall. The frightened people turn once again to Moses. As God's commanded, Moses leads them away from the promised land to wander into the wilderness for 40 years. So, because of their disobedience and things as far as that nature, and we're going to see what even happens to Moses because of all this, because of their disobedience, their constant, disobeying, they're constantly arguing against God, they're constantly turning against God, they're constantly trying to do things their own way, and complaining and whining, and all this stuff that just, we've seen a lot of it go on. And, they're just being fools. They're not trusting God. They're not having faith at all. And, so for that, instead of being, obviously they did have to travel for some time, but to being into their promised land, right then, there was their break. God was going to help them defeat them giants, and that was going to be them entering into the promised land. Instead, they act foolish, and now they're in the wilderness wandering for another 40 years before they'll even reach into that, take a step. Some of them that are there now will never even see it because they're going to pass away before they were right there, but, choices were made and they were the wrong ones. But hopefully you guys learned something new. As always, take it easy, and I'll get you guys next week. God bless.